Hello everybody. How are you guys doing? First order of business, roll call. Make sure that you tell me what your favorite snack is. Just type that you're present in the comments. It helps fight the algorithm. YouTube doesn't like independent journalism, so this is how we combat it, right? Like the video, type anything below. Something pertinent, right? Hopefully. Like what I just mentioned. So we'll get into the politics in just a second, and we already have a couple of super chats, which is great. Thank you very much, Queen Mina, aka Panther Mina. Thank you very much. Hold on, I'm trying to zoom in. It says سلام من اختك من فلسطين. تسلم لي حبيبتي. تسلم لي. يعني عن جد انا كتير فرحان انه وتسمع انه في عرب عم يحضروا كمان خاصة من فلسطين. يعني ما في شيء بيبسطني اكثر. فيسلموا او عن جد كتير انبسطت بالسوبر chat. So I just said thank you very much because it makes me real happy when we have an international audience, because she said hi from your sister in Palestine, and I said it makes me especially happy knowing that people are watching in Palestine, right? So that's great. So in any case, I want to start out with a new story. This is an exclusive from CNN. All right. So, you guys are the best, aren't you? Okay. Okay, there we go. So, ready? Everyone's ready? I think I remember to post on or live. Yeah, good. We got over 100 people watching. Make sure you hit the like button. All right. So there we go. Right. So the Department of Homeland Security, they're considering outsourcing their spying activities. This is an exclusive from CNN. So let's dive right into the article. It's a long one, but it's a good one. And it's a very interesting one, right? So I'll just read you the headline over here. It says, Biden team may partner with private firms to survey suspected domestic terrorists online. You remember this? You remember we told you about this, right? Domestic terrorism. They're going to make this a big thing after January 6th with the new administration. So let's take a look at what it says here, right? So the Biden administration is considering using outside firms to track extremist chatter by Americans online. An effort that would expand the government's ability to gather intelligence, but could draw criticism over surveillance of U.S. citizens. The Department of Homeland Security is limited in how it can monitor citizens online without justification, and is banned from activities like assuming false identities to gain access to private messaging apps used by extremist groups such as the Proud Boys or Oath Keepers. So there are several things wrong with this last sentence here, because number one, that is just categorically false. The Department of Homeland Security is a monstrosity that was created by George Bush, okay? This is post 9/11, and of course this is something that every president since George Bush has kept, right? Barack Obama, Trump, Biden. Why would they remove this? You know, just to give you an idea of what, if you remember, all right? So you were perhaps young like me, but you remember these? The terror levels, the threat levels that they would put up on the TV every day? This is from the Department of Homeland Security, right? They had severe, they had high, they had elevated, right? Like the whole mind control thing going on. Yeah. And even in the UK, they had their own equivalent. And, you know, just to remind you, the DHS, I mean, it encompasses about, 22 agencies? Something like that. So that's a lot of them, huh? We got the Justice Department, the Treasury, of course, with the sanctions. The Defense Department. I mean, all of this. That's a lot, right? So in any case, this is a creation of George Bush. And, you know, when they say that the Department of Homeland Security does not have the possibility to spy on others and assume fake identities, I mean, this is just categorically false. So, you know, this is a story from the Associated Press. This is August 31st, 2019. okay? And, you know, basically the DHS, they've been using fake aliases and, fake social media to spy on illegal immigrants and people's immigration status, right? So that sentence is first of all not true. And I want to say another thing. Do you notice how they say here that they're keeping tabs on Proud Boys or Oath Keepers? Okay, look, I want to say something here. They're making it seem as if the DHS is only concerned with right-wingers, right? You don't need to worry. Don't worry. They're just after these extremist white supremacists, right? They don't tell you about the part where the United States government, for decades since the Cold War, has been running these, they call them COINTELPRO, right? So counterintelligence programs. They would infiltrate any sorts of groups that were adversarial to the government, civil rights groups, black liberation movements, communist, Marxist groups, feminist groups, anything that, that is for equality, for workers' rights. Yeah, they would go and infiltrate those groups and destroy them from within, right? They're still doing that. They're still doing that with Black Lives Matter, for example, with other black activists. They treat them as terrorists. So this insinuation that the DHS is only concerned with white supremacy is not true. As a matter of fact, oftentimes they're hurting left movements. They're hurting leftist movements, socialist movements, communist movements, black liberation and other indigenous movements. That's what they're doing. And as a matter of fact, I'm covering right now these new authoritarian bills that they're passing in the UK. One of them is the Spy Cops bill, right? Because that's what it is. It makes cops spies effectively. It gives not just police, but tons of undercover agents, license to kill, like literally license to kill, to rape, murder, whatever. And, I think this was Asa on Twitter who raised this point that, they're targeting leftists oftentimes, right? They're infiltrating leftist groups and they're leaving groups like the English Defense League, which is a white supremacist, it's a far-right group. They're leaving those nationalist groups alone, and they're going after leftist groups. I mean, this is astonishing, right? So I don't buy this kind of implication here in that, oh yeah, don't worry about it. It's just those other groups. They're not doing anything to leftists. Really? Okay. Yeah, all right, pal. People who don't know their history, maybe they believe that. But that's just simply not true. So, give me 1 second over here. Something up with my computer, man. All right, I don't think you can hear it. Anyway, so just let's continue with the article. Sorry, excuse me. So they're saying that instead, federal authorities can only browse through unprotected information on social media sites like Twitter and Facebook and other open online platforms. Yeah, like, again, as if they act as if we don't know about Snowden, that all these social media companies are not giving them more than just publicly available information. What reality do these people live in? So the plan being discussed inside the DHS, according to multiple sources, would in effect allow the department to circumvent those limits, which they're already doing. A source familiar with the effort said it is not about decrypting data, but rather using outside entities who can legally access these private groups to gather large amounts of information that can help DHS identify key narratives as they emerge. Again, I am a huge fan of the vague language. It really does it for me, so that when they violate your human rights and your constitutional rights, you can't say anything. So they're saying that by partnering with research firms who have more visibility in this space, the DHS could produce information that would likely be beneficial to both it and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, which cannot monitor U.S. citizens in this way without first getting a warrant or having the pretext of an ongoing investigation. The CIA and NSA are also limited on collecting intelligence domestically. Who believes this dog shit? How dumb do you have to be to believe that? Who believes that, honestly? Dude, dude, the CIA doesn't accept like intelligence on people domestically. No one believes that for 1 second. Okay, that is a complete fabrication. So, anyway, going. I gotta laugh. I gotta laugh. So, continuing. It would, however, involve empowering a unit at DHS that is already under fierce scrutiny for its bungled handling. Again, pay attention to this language. It's a bungled handling of the Portland riots last summer, an episode that included collecting intelligence reports on journalists and unmasking private citizens, according to a source familiar with a recent internal report on the matter. Do you see that language? Bungled handling. Now, can someone explain to me what's bungled about that? You know, when you say it's a bungled handling, you're implying it was a mistake, right? That's what it means. It's, oh, we did this by accident. Yeah, but we're not talking about people who make accidents or mistakes here. I mean, we're talking about the intelligence community, right? These are intelligence agencies. They know who they're spying on. They know what they're doing. It's their job to know. And you're giving them cover? Like, why not just say that they were collecting reports on journalists and then let people make their own conclusions? No. CNN has to say it was bungled. It's not their fault. You know, they just happened to be spying on journalists. It just happened. We're sorry. No, we're not even sorry. Do you see how they condition people with this language? They'll just throw a few terms in there and try to tone down what happened. If that happened in another country, they'd say, oh my God, the regime, they have been violating press freedoms. They were collecting dossiers on journalists. Yeah, you know, that's how they would portray it. But when they do it at home, no, it's a bungle thing, man. We didn't mean it, right? So that leaves the Biden administration with a key question: how to address mistakes made during the Trump administration while also finding ways to respond to what critics say were blatant failures by U.S. intelligence agencies to act on warnings ahead of the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Yeah, I don't think those were... I don't know, man. Look, I just want to make one point here that I think any sane, rational person could make. You know, the United States spends, $740 billion a year on defense. Now Biden wants to make it $753 billion a year. That's more than any country on earth, right? It's more than the next 10 countries put together. You created the Department of Homeland Security, right? You created the mass surveillance programs. You started the war on terror. You did all of these things to protect the U.S. and then a bunch of weekend soldiers, and not even weekend soldiers. They're just, you know, people just show up with guns at the heart of the capital of the nation in Washington, D.C., and they just walk in. Like, who believes that? How can you expect anyone to believe that? I don't buy that. I don't buy that. Something is up. I don't know what it is, but something is up. Like, this literally doesn't add up. You know, these are astronomical figures put forward for defense. So, make it make sense. So in any case, if you want to call that a failure, whatever, yeah, that's putting it mildly, I would say. You know, if they're able to walk in and just easily threaten your elected leaders, that's more than just a failure. There's something else going on here. So, quote, there's a tension between wanting to empower the DHS's intelligence office to do this kind of work around domestic terrorism on the one hand, and then on the other hand, the misuse of its capabilities during the summer of 2020 gives a lot of people on the Hill pause when it comes to potentially giving them new authorities, capabilities, or resources, a Senate aide told CNN. Now, I want to be clear, because since this article was posted, actually, let me get to the end, all right? Then we'll go there. So DHS officials are exploring ways to enhance the department's information gathering within the bounds of its current authorities, multiple sources told CNN. The department is coordinating with the National Security Council and the FBI as part of the effort. Quote, there was only limited awareness before January 6th of what violent extremists were planning through social media, said Tom Warwick, a senior fellow at the at the Atlantic Council, who served as DHS Deputy Assistant Secretary for Counterterrorism and has decades of experience. So Warwick added he would expect DHS to explore whether contractors could help them understand plots and trends emerging online. Now, I find this a bit of a contradiction, because he's saying here that there's limited awareness, okay, of what they were planning through social media, right? So obviously they're incompetent, and you've already been throwing billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars for the last 20 years at these agencies. So what is your idea? You want to give them more money, and you want to let them violate people's rights even more, like the Patriot Act, the mass surveillance? This wasn't enough? If anything, you should try a completely different route, since what you are doing either doesn't work or you're you're in on it. I don't know. But clearly, this idea that, oh, we have to violate your rights in the name of security hasn't worked. You just said so. You told me that, not me. You said that. You said there was limited awareness. All right? You can't come here and say there was a lack of budget. So Warwick added he would expect, again, to explore, look at this, contractors, right? So they're outsourcing the authoritarianism. That's what it is. And they're saying whatever gets approved and implemented has to comply with established laws. Yeah, but what does that mean? Because when, George Bush and Dick Cheney, they start the presidential surveillance program behind everyone's back the day of 9/11, I mean, they ended up legalizing it, right? So the mass surveillance programs, they ended up getting them in part through Congress, right? So the drone programs, they find a legal framework for it. They always find a way to legalize what is illegal. So, when the Patriot Act, that is a law. Does it mean that it's a just law? And even then, they don't even abide by that. They go even further. So, I mean, these people have been violating everyone's rights, U.S. citizens, people internationally, and now they're saying, no, it's not enough. We need more. We need more money, and we need more reach, or as Obama says, mild encroachments. No, we need to violate your rights even more. I mean, if anything, you people are the last, on the list to be given those kinds of priorities. But nonetheless, here they are making the case, and CNN makes the case for them, right? So, and they want it to be with contractors. Right? Of course, there's a profit somewhere in there. Of course. So researchers who already monitor such activity online could act as middlemen to obtain the information. So what are we talking about here? Who are these researchers? People at the CIA? People who do open source? What is it? DHS officials maintain the materials provided would only consist of broad summaries or analysis of narratives that are emerging on these sites and would not be used to target specific individuals. So, it sounds a lot like metadata, right? If you remember, what's his name again? General Hayden, right? So he used to head the intelligence community, and, he's on tape saying, we don't even need to know what you're saying. We kill people based on metadata. He said that verbatim. We kill people based off of metadata. And when you have Nicole Wallace going on MSNBC saying, maybe we should drone strike people. This is not a good cocktail. Do you see where this is going? Because we know, the Arabs know what has come out of this regime, right? It's looking a lot similar. Perhaps not to that point yet, but... So in any case, they're saying, but some of the research firms and nonprofit groups under consideration by the DHS periodically use covert identities to access private social media groups like Telegram and others used by domestic extremist groups. That thrusts DHS into a potential legal gray area, even as it plugs an intelligence gap that critics say contributed to the failure to predict the assault on the Capitol. So, several points here. I mean, I wasn't aware that Telegram was a thing used by domestic extremist groups in the United States. As far as I know, that's a Russian app. Nonetheless, you guys do know that a lot of the terrorists who committed, acts in the last couple of years, they're already known to the authorities. The Paris attackers in 2015, not only were some of them known to the French authorities and European authorities, they just used SMS. SMS is unencrypted. Where was the mass surveillance to save people from that? London, and the same thing, right? London Bridge attacker, already known, I think even had was already convicted with a terror charge. It doesn't work. It doesn't work, obviously, right? And as a matter of fact, when I was looking these up, to make sure I'm not tripping, I came across this article from The Intercept from Gallagher. And, he goes through this, right? He mentions some of the ones I just told you, how a lot of these attackers are already known to the governments. They are already on their radar, under surveillance. And, sometimes they don't even use any encryption. So how are you going to come here and tell me that this is about, violating people's rights even further and turning the internet into an even more authoritarian construct? I mean, no, this is, no, it doesn't match. It doesn't match. And it's ironic because look what they say in the next paragraph. They just say the same goddamn thing that I just told you. Much of the planning for the Capitol Hill riot appeared out in the open on social media platforms and on encrypted apps available to anyone with an internet connection. So, you had all these things happening on Facebook. I don't see anyone targeting Facebook for that. No, they go after the competition, right? And moreover, they're telling you in the same breath that these things were planned out in the open, yet they still want more powers to go and violate people's rights, to spy on them, to send outsource it essentially, but it's still spying. This doesn't make any sense. If a lot of it is out in the open, why do you need researchers? Why do you need to contract people to do this for you? I mean, someone's not doing their job here. This is not a question of, we need more funding, we need to give out more contracts, we need to violate more rights. So, I mean, one thing I want to say also is that on the Hill also reported about the story, and look what they said over here. They actually reached out to the DHS for comment. Here's what happened. So the DHS denied. That's what the Hill says. The DHS denied it is turning to outside groups in a statement to the Hill Monday afternoon. Quote, "This is false. DHS is not partnering with private firms to survey suspected domestic terrorists online. It is also blatantly false to suggest that the department is using outside firms to circumvent its legal limits. All of our work to address the threat of domestic terrorism is done consistent with the Constitution and other applicable law and in close coordination with our privacy and civil liberties experts." Yeah, okay. Look, to be fair, that's the statement. I just read it to you. That's what they're saying. That's their side of the story. Do you believe them? After the last 20 years? Ooh. C'est chaud, mon gars. C'est chaud. If you believe that, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't know what to tell you. Just going further, back to this article, all right, they say if they can find willing external partners that would help provide access to private groups on these encrypted apps, DHS and its federal partners, including the FBI, would be able to legally identify potential domestic terrorists and access information that could inform investigative efforts. FBI Director Christopher Wray has been emphatic during recent public testimony that the Bureau does not investigate ideologies or even conspiracy theories in and of themselves, but restricts its social media monitoring to cases where they believe a crime or potential crime was committed. But if the DHS could help provide a broad picture of who is perpetuating the narratives of concern, the FBI could theoretically use that pool of information to focus on specific individuals, if there is enough evidence of a potential crime to legally do so. So, this is... This is really bewildering to me. I really have a tough time understanding why you need to create agency upon agency upon agency to just do the same thing, right? To me, this once again, just like most things, it seems like a racket because they're talking about contractors. They want to outsource this stuff. And again, it reminds me of what happened in Iraq, what's still happening, in Abu Ghraib, for example, the torture scandal. Not everyone involved in the torture was actually a service member, right? Or an occupier, if you ask the Iraqis. Right? Some of them were private contractors. So they're getting paid 10 times the same money as someone in the conventional armed forces to do the same job. And in this case, meaning torture. So, this has several benefits, quote unquote, because, these private corporations are ripping the government off, and meaning you, the taxpayer, because the government is their buddies. Number two, they can't face a military tribunal or a court-martial because they're not in the armed forces. I mean, just look at what Trump did. He pardoned the Nisour Square perpetrators, right? That massacre in Nisour in Iraq. So, I mean, they just, in the middle of traffic in, a busy square, they just started emptying machine guns on Iraqi civilians. Yeah, that's how much they value Iraqi lives, right? It's not even like they don't even care to hide it. It's just literally in broad daylight, in traffic. Let's just kill everyone. And Trump pardons those scumbags, right? Because he's like them. And this idea that you can outsource the military, you can outsource the intelligence agencies. It's really funny in a way, because it's like while they're committing mild encroachments, like Obama wants to say, they also want to make a buck. So it's really like a snake eating itself. At one point this is going to implode. Really. But the fact that they try to sell you this idea like, oh no, look, we're just collecting open source information, what's there publicly, but we would like to, we'd like to get in there, having private groups and researchers that come here and help us, and contractors. As if the Patriot Act, never existed, as if the mass surveillance programs never existed, as if they haven't already been doing this. This is an absurdity. And we know for a fact, you go look at the PRISM program, these companies, these social media companies, Facebook, Microsoft, Yahoo, you name it, they've been working with them. But it's not enough. And we told you about this when Biden was coming in, that they would use this domestic terror threat to expand the state's powers, to expand surveillance. Here, it's starting, man. It's starting. Nicole Wallace, right? War criminal Karen, she doesn't even care to hide it anymore. Calling for drone strikes a few weeks ago. Because her going on TV and advocating torture wasn't enough. Now she has to advocate drone strikes in the U.S. What a fine human being, right? Such moral integrity. God, this is really, this is really incredible. And again, what gets me the most in this entire article is that they try to classify the DHS spying on journalists and collecting dossiers on them as a bungle. It was just a mess, man. We just, no biggie. Why would you say that? Why would you qualify it in that way? Especially as a fucking journalist. You work in this field. You work in this field. Why would you do that to yourselves? You know why? Because these people are not journalists. They are fucking spokespersons for the state. They're spokesperson for the state. This to me reads like someone in the state wrote it. Oh, look, we don't have enough powers. We need more and more. There's no scrutiny. There's no scrutiny whatsoever. So here, well, welcome to the new war on domestic terrorism, and these are some of the things that it will entail, right? So you have a Patriot Act 2 coming, and God knows whatever this is, the DHS bringing up their own plan, right? I love that. I love that. Just like when they investigate themselves and they find no wrongdoing, yes? In an actual democracy, if the government, if the state was spying on journalists and unmasking private citizens, people would be fired, right? People would be asking for that agency, in this case, you have 22 agencies under the umbrella of the DHS, to be shut down, right? Because most of the agencies under the DHS are actually the ones who are already carrying out the Mass Surveillance Patriot Act, warrantless wiretapping. And this, they just whitewash history and what's happening right now. Like, CIA? No, they don't spy on people in the U.S., no. I can't believe this. I really cannot believe this. We're still trying. We're still trying. Come on. Yes, we're back. We're back. All right, it didn't cut off. It didn't cut off. So just give me a second. I just want to drink something, man. I just want to drink something. And I'll get your super chats in a second, all right? Here, look, I can blur the screen. Voilà, ça c'est bien. Ah, c'est très bien ça. And you can't really see what I'm drinking, so that's perfect. All right, so we got a couple more segments. Actually, we got a lot more segments to do. Don't go anywhere. This is the spot. Right. Là, on est bien, on est bien, on est bien. No worries, guys. No worries. So, let's move on to the next segment, shall we? This is incredible. This is incredible, you know? So, Joe Biden decided to put out a really interesting statement, okay? Let me read it to you, right? A proclamation on Loyalty Day 2021. So Joe Biden issued this on April 30th, and I just want to read you a bit of what this says, okay? Let me scroll down to the bottom. It's not long, it's just a page, but let's just scroll down to the bottom. So he says, now, therefore I, Joseph R. Biden Jr., President of the United States of America, do hereby proclaim May 1st, 2021 as a Loyalty Day. This Loyalty Day, I call upon the people of the United States to join in this national observance, display the United States flag, and pledge allegiance to the republic for which it stands. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand this 30th day of April, in the year of our Lord, 2021, and of the independence of the United States of America. Now, look, I just want to break this down very simply. You know what he's doing here, right? You know what May the 1st is? All over the world, literally all over the world. You know what the May the 1st is? That's Labor Day, also known as, International Workers' Day. It's a holiday. Look, I can show you on the map just how many countries actually celebrate this. Okay, take a look. That's how many, right? Now, again, we all know that a map is worthless without a legend, okay? Unfortunately, the legend is out of screen. I'm going to shift this up so you can see it. Basically, the countries in red are all the countries who celebrate it, right? And if you'll allow me one moment to move this up. There we go. Wonderful. So you can see here, all these countries in red, they celebrate International Workers' Day. You know what's hilarious? The United States does not. It has no public holiday on May the 1st. Even though the United States actually invented this, well, not invented, but used the May the 1st to, commemorate the Haymarket Affair. So the Haymarket Affair, this was kind of, we have to go back in time for this. This is in the 19th century. You had an incident where people were protesting about the number of hours they have to work, right? So about the working day. And there was an incident, but there's a bomb that went off. You had some police killed, protesters killed. And so to commemorate that, they began holding this, and I think it started in Chicago, on May the 1st to commemorate, the Haymarket Affair, and also to have solidarity, show solidarity with workers all over the world. And now this is caught on, and ironically, the United States doesn't have that anymore. You know why? Because of the Cold War, right? So in the Cold War, after World War II, even though the United States was allied with the Soviet Union, which is, communist, afterwards, they became enemies. You all know. And part of the Cold War, domestically, you had the Red Scare, you had McCarthyism, and, as part of McCarthyism and this witch hunt against anyone remotely or even not even necessarily actually affiliated with communists, part of that was, banning and getting rid of this. So, just to just to show you over here, this is what they passed in 1921, right? Also, ironically called Loyalty Day. So this is probably where Biden is getting it from. No surprise, right? And you can see here, they say the holiday was first observed in 1921 during the first Red Scare, right? We have multiple of those. It was originally called Americanization Day, okay? And it was intended to replace the May 1st celebration of the International Workers' Day, which commemorates the 1886 Haymarket Affair in Chicago. So, this is what it says, right? It's nothing to do with workers. It just says Loyalty Day is a special day for the reaffirmation of loyalty to the United States. That's it. And I mean, the message could not be more clear, if you ask me. The message could not be clearer because, the United States, as part of the Red Scare, what did they also do? They passed the Taft-Hartley Act in 1947. Taft-Hartley Act decimated unions, right? To this day, you can't run as a union leader or for election as a union leader if you're a communist, right? Not allowed. They made sure that union membership went down. People didn't pay their dues. No need to join because everyone benefits from the collectivized bargaining, right? So they really engineered this to make sure union membership plummeted from 30% of the American workforce down to, what is it now, 10%, right? Something abysmal. And then, of course, Joe Biden will say the word unions and do shit like this, right? Oh, yeah, unions built... what does he say in his joint speech? He says, the middle class built America and unions built the middle class. But, of course, he won't give the middle class a raise. And, of course, he does things like this to really continue this McCarthyism, this ridiculous Red Scare nonsense. And, I think it's astonishing that people cannot see that the entirety of the Cold War was not just spent, confronting Russia, but also at home. It was used as an excuse to really kill unions, to kill the working class. And they're still doing this, right? This is so weird. I don't even know how to react to that. Like, I was disgusted, but not really surprised. I was like, yeah, I already knew that they had removed this holiday on purpose because they're so petty. But it really shows you that they don't even want you to celebrate or have solidarity with other workers. Because again, I mean, you have to think about this. You as a worker, or just as a citizen, as a human being, right? It's not about what you produce. Just as a human being, you have more in common with other human beings, other workers in China, in Russia, in Syria, than you do with any of the people who work in Washington, D.C. On every level. On every level. Okay? Except perhaps language. Think about that. You have more in common with the people that they want you to demonize and internalize this xenophobia against. Think about that. It's very powerful. And, Loyalty Day, I mean, you know how the Americans, or at least in American movies, you see that a lot, they try to make fun of, again, the axis of evil, right? Just the name itself is cartoonish. They make fun of North Korea, they make fun of, Syria, they make fun of Iran, they make fun of countries that are, of course, they don't want to bend the knee to U.S. hegemony. They call them totalitarian. Oh, they have a cult of personality. Oh my God, look, they have their glorious supreme leader, and they're all sheep, and they have things like this. And then like Loyalty Day, that's something you would expect from a dystopian novel or something that Hollywood would say about countries the U.S. doesn't like, right? And then the U.S. turns around and does that. I mean, this is hilarious, honestly, right? And again, I don't know if this is true, but many of you have told me they make you say the Pledge of Allegiance. And I don't know, maybe this varies state by state or school by school. I mean, you want to talk about indoctrination? You want to talk about indoctrination? Huh. I don't think you should have loyalty to Joe Biden, and I don't think you should have loyalty in this capacity, like he mentions, right? Because he could have picked any other date. There's a real reason he picked this date. Do you understand? Like, every country has loyalty pledges, and of course, we understand that, right? everyone is proud of their home country, and every country has its own, pledges of allegiance, etc., and their national hymns. I know. This is not it. This date is not an accident, May 1st. And I just showed you, he's not the first to do this, right? This is something that has its origins in the Red Scare, okay? It's an anti-Soviet and an anti-communist and anti-socialist response from the United States. So, I mean, we know that they're continuing Russiagate. We know that they're continuing this, Russophobia, that they're continuing the the Red Scare. I don't know. Are we in the third Red Scare now? I don't know. Yeah, we know. MSNBC, I know. I actually asked you guys on Twitter, like, how many of you have learned about McCarthyism at school? I got thousands of replies. And astonishingly enough, a lot of them, I'm not giving a percentage because I don't know the percentage, but a big amount said they'd never heard of this term even. That's very worrisome. That's very worrisome. And if you go and you look at the speeches that were taking place, dude, I mean, this isn't something like, oh, we're going to go after, this communist chapter over here because we don't like them, which is is still something that took place. But they were even going after other members of government, right? High-ranking officials in the military, accusing them of being not just communists, but Soviets, right? So it's not just, oh, you're of a different political ideology. No, you are a spy, right? Baseless, completely baseless, a lot of it. Made up. In any case, this date is no accident that he picked this, right? No accident whatsoever. And you have also over here something that I was looking up. Executive Order 9835. This is passed by Harry Truman in 47, right? Lots of things happening in 47, remember. So this is called the Loyalty Order also, this executive order, okay? And look at what it says over here. Again, this is just a brief summary, right, from Wiki. So Truman aimed to rally public opinion behind his Cold War policies with investigations conducted under its authority. He also hoped to quiet right-wing critics who accused Democrats of being soft on communism. Right? Democrats veering to the right. When have we seen that before? The Loyalty Order was part of the prelude to the rise of Senator Joseph McCarthy, who we were just talking about, right? A Republican of Wisconsin. And, I mean, this term loyalty, it's really, it's ironic. I find it very ironic because I really don't think you can, I mean, you either have a loyalty with other workers or you have loyalty to the corporations, man. That's what they want, right? That's what they want. Very telling. Very telling. So yeah, just to tell you, May 1st, it's a holiday in a lot of countries, right? I'm pretty sure it's celebrated in Syria, yeah, Poland, Austria, you name it. But not America, and that's where it originated. Isn't that funny? So there's been a real effort to, crush, not just legally, but on a cultural level even, on a collective, in the collective conscience, things like this, right? The very notion you have a day for workers? What's that? Also, my computer is driving me nuts with some stupid-ass fan. I've had it up to here with this hunk of junk. So we're going to fix that. And thank you to everyone supporting the show because it is very much needed and it's going to be put to good use. So give me a second so I can fix this goddamn thing over here driving me nuts. I don't know. I don't think you can hear it. But there are these extremely obnoxious fans that sound like jet engines. Ça me rend fou, hein. J'en peux plus. Je vais péter un câble. So, And again, I'm hearing and seeing all of your donations. Thank you so much. I'll get to them at the end. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to shoot. Go right ahead. It's no worries, no worries. So, someone was telling me the other day that we needed like a, what do you call it? An intermission screen. Yes, we do. That would be quite good. Anyway, let's move on to the next segment, man. I want to go bang, bang, bang. All right? Bang, bang, bang. So, okay, this is heartbreaking stuff, man. Heartbreaking. So, in occupied Palestine, right now, the Israelis have ordered Palestinians to evacuate their homes, specifically from Sheikh Jarrah, okay? So, let me show you what's going on here. This is from Al Jazeera. It reads, "What is happening in occupied East Jerusalem's Sheikh Jarrah? Israel ordered 6 Palestinian families to leave their homes in Sheikh Jarrah on May 2nd to make way for Jewish settlers." So dozens of Palestinians are facing imminent dispossession from their homes in the occupied East Jerusalem neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah in what they say is a move to force them out and replace it entirely with a Jewish settlement. The Jerusalem District Court ruled at least 6 families must vacate their homes in Sheikh Jarrah on Sunday despite living there for generations. The same court ruled 7 other families should leave their homes by August 1st. In total, 58 people, including 17 children, are set to be forcibly displaced to make way for Jewish settlers. The court rulings are a culmination of a decades-long struggle for these Palestinians to stay in their homes. In 1972, several Jewish settler organizations filed a lawsuit against the Palestinian families living in Sheikh Jarrah, alleging the land originally belonged to Jews. These groups, mostly funded by donors from the United States, have waged a relentless battle that resulted in the displacement of 43 Palestinians in 2002, as well as the Hanoun and Ghawai families in 2008, and Shamashne family in 2017. Okay? So, I just want to give you some context. Where is this? East Jerusalem. Okay? You need to understand something. East Jerusalem, under international law, belongs to Palestine. So this idea that you can have Israeli courts presiding over Palestinian territory, Palestinian land, is an absurdity. Now, we're just talking about in the context of international law. All of Israel is on Palestinian land. The entire goddamn thing is a settler colonialist project. All right? It's a 1917 Balfour Declaration, 1916 Sykes-Picot Agreement, where they're dividing up the Middle East. This is a British project, right? The British gave this up to the UN, and the UN comes in with this partition plan, and they just screw over Palestinians. And you have to keep in mind, Palestinians, Arabs in the Middle East, they've been under 400 years of Ottoman rule. Then they have a French and British mandates from the end of World War I until the end of World War II. And then now all of a sudden you're telling Palestinians, oh, you have to fork up 50% of your land. And now, of course, it's way more than that, right? So even if you accept the partition plan, even if you accept the existence of an Israeli apartheid state, East Jerusalem is Palestinian. You have no claim to that whatsoever. So how is an Israeli court deciding that? The Israelis don't care. I mean, they took East Jerusalem, right? They invaded it in 1967, just like they invaded the West Bank, just like they invaded Gaza Strip, Sinai Peninsula. They invaded the Syrian Golan Heights. And they gave back the Sinai Peninsula to the Egyptians, but they've kept everything else. They annexed even, not just kept the occupation. They have annexed illegally the Syrian Golan Heights. They have annexed illegally, Jerusalem in 1980 and 1981. And the UN has told them with multiple UN Security Council resolutions, like, number one, this is not your land. We reject your basic law or Jerusalem law, which says that the holy city of Jerusalem is your capital, get out. Israel doesn't care. And of course, the United States doesn't care either. All right? So this is an absurdity. And I want to make something else clear, because people might think, oh, this is a unique thing, what's going on here. No, it's not unique. This is, how do you think Israel was built on Palestinian land? Millions of Palestinians. We're talking about a few dozen here, which is a few dozen too many. But in the last 73 years, since 1948, millions of Palestinians have been kicked out of their homes. Millions. And I want to show you some clips over here. I'm not sure if this is specifically from the same district in East Jerusalem, but just look at this exchange between a Jewish settler and a Palestinian woman. Okay? And this guy is in her house. He's in her house. He's stolen it.
You are stealing my house.
And if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it.
No one is allowed to steal it, يا عمي.
זה לא שלי להחזיר.
וזה, בוא נגיד שזה, יש.
גם אני אצא מפה הוא לא יחזור, אז מה?
Jacob, you know this is not your house.
Yes, but if I go, you don't go back. So what's the problem? What are you yelling at me? I didn't do this.
But
it's easy to yell at me, but I didn't do this.
You are stealing my house.
And if I don't steal it, someone else is going to steal it.
No one.
Man, you know what's messed up? He's kind of right. Because the Israelis have taken it. If he leaves, they'll just give it to another Israeli, right? It's not like she's actually getting the house back, right? It's her house, but he's correct. Not correct in being there and stealing her house. He's correct in the sense that, yeah, even if he left, they'll just give it to another Israeli. Like, you can't win, right? Their goal is to ethnically cleanse Palestine. This is a crime against humanity. When you displace populations, that's ethnic cleansing in of itself. When you bring in your population to repopulate an area, that's also a crime in of itself. They're both ethnic cleansing, right? So this is how, I mean, that's relatively mild compared to watching, Palestinians crying while Israelis bulldoze their homes in front of them, right? Can you imagine someone bringing a fucking bulldozer and the army with them to bulldoze your house in the middle of the night and just making you homeless because you're not Jewish? Even though you've lived there your whole life, your father, your mother, your parents, your grandparents, it's your family's house. No, fuck you. We're going to bulldoze it. Fascinating, right? Here, I want to play you another video. Okay, this is from Hadi. Hadi's a good friend. He says, a Palestinian woman locked outside while Israeli settlers take over her home. 28 Palestinian families of Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood in Jerusalem will be evicted from their homes soon. This isn't apartheid, this is ethnic cleansing. So let's take a look. I mean, look at that, right? They kicked her out and she's on the street. What is that? How can you do that to another human being, right? And I know some of you might be in disbelief. You never heard of this. Like, no, this can't be real. Motherfucker, it's real. And this is the mildest of it. This is the mildest of it. You need to. I'm giving you a reality check about how Israel was built, right? Israel is built on genocide. It's built on ethnic cleansing. It can only succeed if you vacate Palestine and dispossess and uproot millions of Palestinians, right? Which is what has happened. And it's astonishing to me that I went to school with people who have visited or lived in Palestine more than my cousin Roni, who is Palestinian, who's never even seen Palestine. Why? Because his grandfather, same thing, stole his home, kicked him out. Like millions of other Palestinians in 48, right? With the Nakba. What is that? right? And you heard that first video I played you. That guy's American. So a lot of these people are actually dual nationals. They have the choice to live here or here, right? They have two choices, two homes they can go to. They want to take both and leave Palestinians with zero. How the fuck is that fair? Don't even begin to try and rationalize that shit to me. I don't want to hear it. So, I mean, these are crimes against humanity. Literally, legally. These are crimes against humanity. And no one does anything, right? Because Israel has successfully silenced, destroyed any realm of criticism within, Western public discourse and political discourse. You can't criticize Israel. It just doesn't work. And, through France, through the UK, through the US, they have 3 permanent seats on the UN Security Council. Ah, yes. It's not just about the military aid. It's not just about the military aid. So, one of the things that they're telling the Palestinians here in Sheikh Jarrah, they're saying that because they were, again, they were displaced and resettled there because of what? Because of the Israelis turning them to refugees, right? In 1956, 28 Palestinian refugee families displaced from their homes, 8 years prior, eventually settled into the Kerm el-Jwani area in Sheikh Jarrah. Again, so you have to think about this idea that there are Palestinians who are refugees in Palestine to this day, 3rd generation. So the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, at the time was under the mandate of Jordan. Okay, so again, we went into the history of that, but the deal stipulated the families were to renounce their refugee status in return for land deeds signed in their names after 3 years of living in the area. Okay, however, that did not take place, and in 1967, Jordan lost its mandate as East Jerusalem was occupied by Israel. Right? Khalil Tufakji, a Palestinian cartographer and expert on Jerusalem, said he traveled to Ankara in 2010 to search in the Ottoman-era archives for a document that negates any Jewish ownership of Kerem el-Jwani. Quote, I found the deed and presented it to the Israeli district court, which promptly rejected it. Right? So they don't even care. Even when you meet their requirements to prove that this place never belonged to any Jewish settlers, which, I mean, in of itself is kind of absurd. Like, could you imagine if I went to France, and I told them, well, look, man, I had my ancestors living here like 1,000 years ago. Give me your house. The French government would tell me, go fuck yourself. And rightfully so. Okay? But apparently it's okay to do that to Palestinians. Even when it's demonstrably disproven. So, after more digging, Tufakji found in 1968 that Israel's parliament, the Knesset, issued a decree signed by the finance minister at the time, which stated Israel was bound to the Jordan UNRWA agreement. UNRWA is the UN relief refugee agency for Palestine. Quote, the fact is what has been raised to the Jerusalem High Court on behalf of the Palestinian families in Sheikh Jarrah. But added, there's little reason to believe the court will rule in favor of them. Yeah, I second that. Israeli courts, judge, jury, and legislation are all in service of the Jewish settlers, he said. So as I mentioned before, under international law, the Israeli judicial system has no legal authority over the population it occupies. However, I wouldn't say that that's how Palestinians see it. That's literally international law. It's the law. But, of course, they don't care about that. They don't care. And, it's kind of sad that all people can do, and again, I'm not saying it's bad or something. What else can we do is launch an awareness campaign online, because you can't stop these people. You can lobby your politicians till the end of time. You think they're going to speak out against Israel? You think they care that these families are being thrown out? They're not the first and they're not the last. You think they care that Israel is illegally occupying East Jerusalem? Zero. It's really heartbreaking, right? It's really heartbreaking. People that became refugees because of the Israelis are now becoming homeless again because of the Israelis. Like this is persecution, right? That's what it is. They're not happy unless Palestinians are living on the streets or outside Palestine. Right? Millions of them effectively are. This is so heartbreaking, honestly. And I really want you to understand, that's why I played those other videos, that this is not an isolated case. This is the true face of Zionism. This is the true face of what Israel is and how Israel was built and still is being built, right? Our grandmothers are older than Israel. So we are not going to just sit by and allow this shit to happen. This colonialist bullshit. These are people are colonizers. That's what they are. Right? And, you know, if we don't do anything now, you think anyone's going to do anything in the future? Arabs fought 3 fucking wars and couldn't succeed. What's our excuse not to do anything? You know, like not to raise awareness, not to talk about this, not to... No, we cannot allow the colonizers to define the boundaries of what is permissible to say about Israel. Like, they don't care about human rights and, you know, international law and ethnic cleansing. No, they want you to shut the fuck up. Like, you're not allowed to talk about that when they do it. Why do you think they were so outraged when Fatou Bensouda, the chief prosecutor of the ICC, or outgoing chief prosecutor, declared that she would be extending jurisdiction of the ICC into Palestine? Because shit like this it's a crime, right? It's a crime against humanity. And I mean, you can't even begin to count them. The number of times this stuff has happened. And we're not even talking about the actual killings in the war yet. We haven't even got to the war crimes yet. Although this, if you ask me, it's you know, legally speaking, you have crime of aggression, you have war crimes, you have genocide, you have crimes against humanity, but you know, they are all a result of this invasion, right? And it's centuries and centuries and centuries of Palestine and the Middle East changing hands between Ottomans, between British, between French, between Israelis and Americans. It's just going through one hand to the other, right? But it's all colonization. So just give me a second here. I just want to clean up what we have over here. Yep. All right. I need to get a sip. I can't be showing y'all my sip. Okay. There we go. Now you can't see what I'm drinking. And again, thank you so much for your donations. Like I said, I'll get to them at the very end. And I'm very grateful. Thank you, thank you. We have more segments, so don't go anywhere. All right. Let's go. Let's go to the next one, man. Let's go. When I saw this, I could not believe it, honestly. These people have no shame. I don't love saying that, but it is true. They have no shame. So Secretary of State Blinken, who is basically a more boring version of Mike Pompeo. He sat down for an interview with 60 Minutes, and he gets asked about Guantanamo Bay. Let's take a look.
case scenario. Are you prepared for a worst case scenario in Afghanistan where the U.S.-backed government fails and the Taliban takes over?
We have to be prepared for every scenario, and there are a range of them. And we're looking at this in a very clear-eyed way. But Nora, we've been engaged in Afghanistan for 20 years, and we sometimes forget why we went there in the first place. And that was to deal with the people who attacked us on 9/11. And we did. Just because our troops are coming home doesn't mean we're leaving. We're not. Our embassy's staying. The support that we're giving to Afghanistan when it comes to economic support, development, humanitarian, that remains. And not only from us, from partners and allies.
Somewhat related. Will the Biden administration close Guantanamo Bay?
We believe that it should be. That's certainly a goal, but it's something that we'll bring some focus to in the months ahead.
Are you prepared?
Okay, that was brilliant, honestly. The double speak from him. Oh, let me break it down. All right, that's my job. I shovel through shit. The first thing that comes out of her mouth, she says, "Are you concerned?" Let me play it again. You hear it? Are you prepared for a worst case scenario in Afghanistan? Look at the arrogance of that question. Like, who said that this occupation, this 20-year-long war, you don't think that's a worst case scenario for Afghans, for the people living under the occupation? Right? I know she's asking him, it's an expression. But nonetheless, it's always like, let's ignore the victims and just focus on what U.S. policy is. U.S. policy comes first, right? And did you hear Blinken when he says, sometimes we even forget why we're there in the first place? Oh, how modest of you. How modest, right? I thought it was so important that you went there. Why have you been there for 20 years? Fighting terrorism? 9/11? I want to tell you something. You know the authorization for the use of military force of 2001? This piece of toilet paper that they passed in the U.S. Congress to go to war? It doesn't even say Afghanistan or the Taliban or Al-Qaeda in it. Nothing. It just says 9/11. The Congress authorizes the president to go after people who committed these acts of terrorism on 9/11 against us, or who were involved in any way. Like, it's extremely vague. It's not even 1.5 pages long. And look at the amount of death and destruction and occupation and misery that it's caused. It's their template. They've used this AUMF to go into 19 other countries, of course, illegally, right? Because just because your Congress votes for something doesn't mean the rest of the world agrees with it, right? So in any case, they're saying they're going to withdraw from Afghanistan. He said that we're going to leave our embassy there. Again, doublespeak, right? Because as I've told you in the past, embassies are spy stations. They're glorified spy stations. That's what an embassy is. Not everyone working there is a spy, but that's what it is, okay? It's a glorified spy station. And I told you that what they're doing in Afghanistan, what Biden plans to do, is privatize the war. And who were the first fighting forces in Afghanistan? When you think of Afghanistan, maybe you think of how it was in Iraq, where you had, the cavalry coming in, essentially, more like hordes of barbarians. The British, the Americans, they all invaded at once. You had shock and awe, this massive, airstrike campaign, and then the tanks rolling in, CNN live streaming the invasion, like these bloodthirsty warmongers. Afghanistan was not exactly like that. The first major fighting force there was the CIA, right? They have a paramilitary wing in the CIA. So for the first couple of weeks and months, it's the CIA doing that. The CIA is going to stay. Absolutely, right? And you have more contractors than actual soldiers, right? Got to make some money on top of the money. But he asks him about Guantanamo Bay, right?
It was Guantanamo Bay.
We believe that it should be. That's certainly a goal, but it's something that we'll bring some focus to in the months ahead.
Are you?
Yeah, that's such a vague answer. She didn't ask you if you believe it should be closed. She said, are you going to close it? Yes or no? You remember the last guy who said he's going to close it? You remember that dude? What's his name again? Drone striker in oh, Barack Obama. You remember that? He made it a campaign promise, right?
Second point, our legitimacy is reduced when we've got a Guantanamo that is open, when we suspend habeas corpus. Those kinds of things erode our moral claims that we are acting on behalf of broader universal principles, and that's one of the reasons why those kinds of issues are so important. We're going to lead by shutting down Guantanamo and restoring habeas corpus in this country so that we offer them an example. I think that folks made a terrific point that we have to stand for human rights, and that should be part of the trade equation. It is harder for us to do it when we have situations like Guantanamo, where we've suspended habeas corpus. To the extent that we are not being true to our values and our ideals, that sends a negative message to the world, and it gives us less leverage then when we want to deal with countries that are abusing human rights. So I think it's part and parcel with a larger program of us restoring the traditions that made this country great and made us admired around the world.
There are a number of different things that you could do.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon.
Do you smell it? Do you smell the lies? Do you smell the deceit permeating? How many years later now? We're in 2021. This motherfucker was in 2007. Oh yeah, I'm gonna stop the war in Iraq. I'm gonna close down Guantanamo Bay. It's still open. It's still open. We don't torture people? And then he goes, wait, torturing some folks. And then when he said in his campaign in 2007, yeah, you know, I'm against mass surveillance. We can't allow pursuit of national security to, you know, put us in a position where we violate human rights and constitutional rights of Fourth Amendment. They're mild encroachments. You know, Guantanamo Bay, I mean, it's just one place, right? The CIA had several black sites, and this is just one of the most, one of their more horrific facilities. Just to give you an example, right? This is, hold on, let me zoom out. You can see that. Spencer Ackerman on Twitter. He says, this is a horror story about a man named Zain al-Abidin Muhammad Hussein. The CIA tortured him to the point he became catatonic as a test case for its torture program. But he wasn't who they thought he was. 15 years ago, they admitted it. He's still in a cage. This guy's in Guantanamo Bay. He's not even the right dude, and they will not let him out. And then Blinken has the nerve to come and post this yesterday, right? What does he say? He says, we will always defend human rights at home and abroad. You should start defending them at home first before you deal with abroad. Yes? You should start doing them at home first, perhaps. And you know, Guantanamo Bay, I mean, this is such an atrocity of a... It's not the only one, right? I'm telling you that because you should remember that the CIA and the American government, they've been doing this for a long time and actually training others too, right? So they would go to Latin America, they would train, these right-wing guerrillas in torture and the most gruesome things imaginable. So they share the knowledge, of course. But Guantanamo Bay, particularly, I mean, this is something, again, born out of the war on terror. And, Obama kept it, Trump kept it, Biden is going to keep it. This is just lip service. This is nonsense, what he's saying. All right? And when I spoke to Andy Worthington on my channel, so Andy Worthington, he actually worked on the Gitmo files, right? The files from Guantanamo Bay, the prisoner files. He knows the prison and the prisoners inside out. So he's one of the world's foremost authorities on the topic. And I just want to play you a short clip of our interview. It's on the channel. Go ahead, just look it up. Type Andy Worthington, Richard Medhurst. And just listen to what he says here, right? You should go watch the whole thing, but I just want to play you this tiny clip over here so you can get an idea. Because I just showed you one innocent person in Guantanamo. Oh, you think it's just one person?
When they were first captured. This was the whole dubious basis of Guantanamo, that the men held there literally had no rights whatsoever as human beings. So as part of this process, they would get a panel of 3 military officers, and then they would bring the prisoner in and say, we've got allegations that you did this, 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 and this. And the prisoner would very often say, I have no idea what you're talking about. That doesn't make any sense to me. Where did you get that information from? And they would say that's classified. Now, through the lawyers and the investigations they undertook, and also through a handful of very good investigative journalists, we started to discover more of the contours of the story, that actually what purported to be the evidence at Guantanamo had quite often been concocted by fellow prisoners.
Yeah.
In other words, men who had been subjected to torture or other forms of abuse, or men who had been bribed with better living conditions, with comfort items, because there were no comfort items in general at Guantanamo. These were people who had invented stories or had corroborated stories that were fed to them by the authorities, which appeared to justify the men's imprisonment. Long preamble there, but basically what the Guantanamo files did was they put names to these people. So, probably the most shocking revelations is that a persistent, unreliable informant, a Yemeni, turns up, I believe, in about 130 of these files, and is essentially saying that people were significant members of Al-Qaeda, that they were close to Osama bin Laden, all of these kind of things, repeatedly saying these over and over again. And this is the man that we know from a reporter's investigation back in 2006. During one of these combatant status review tribunals, one of the prisoners had objected so strongly, so vehemently, to an allegation that he was in Afghanistan at such and such a time and at a training camp or a guest house or whatever, that his military representative, so a military official who'd been assigned nominally to represent him in these proceedings, had gone through his file and then had cross-referenced that file with the files of other prisoners, and had found out that in every case, the allegations that were made by this man were made when the prisoners in question were not even in the country. So,
right. So, I definitely implore you, go watch the whole thing. But you heard the man. You heard the man. So many innocent people locked up in there. And here he's Andy's just talking about one Yemeni prisoner who was basically making up stories, which the U.S. is more than happy to buy. They always do this, right? Same thing with Iraq before the invasion. They knew the evidence was bogus. They didn't care. They just wanted any person to just give them crap that would fit their narrative to go to war. So even after they have the wrong guy, they just keep them. Torturing people until they become catatonic. I mean, this is Nazi shit. That's Nazi levels of evil. What is that? How is that not the first fucking thing that you do to shut that down? And then they have the nerve to lecture other countries about human rights. So, yeah, long story short, I think Mr. Blinken is full of it, just like every U.S. politician. Unfortunately. And by the way, you've heard me and others refer to Belmarsh Prison in the UK as Britain's equivalent of Guantanamo Bay. Because that's where they keep all the worst criminals, Al-Qaeda members, They'll let Al-Qaeda members out of there, but not Julian Assange, right? If you're in Al-Qaeda, you get special treatment, right? You get house arrest. You can go live at home, do your sentence there. Oh, you're a journalist who exposed Guantanamo Bay? You exposed the war in Afghanistan and Iraq? No, we can't let you out. Disgusting, honestly. Just disgusting. And when Obama was talking about habeas corpus, that's the thing with the Bush administration. They fought tooth and nail to try and stop the prisoners in Guantanamo Bay from being given any rights. Because you already have this legal question of, well, hold on, are they considered enemy combatants? Are they prisoners of war? Because then, the question is, does the Geneva Convention and the Hague Convention, do they apply? I mean, it's kind of a moot point, because whether you have civilians or prisoners of war, I mean, combatants that are now unarmed and in your custody, you can't torture them. It doesn't really matter what the fuck you call it. You can't torture people. But not even that. It's not just violations of international law. No. They didn't want to give them the basics of right to due process, right to fair trial, habeas corpus. No, nothing. That was a legal battle that went on for years. And what does Obama do? What does his attorney general do? Shuts the case on CIA torture, right? So no one from the Bush years can ever be prosecuted for that. Oh, we found nothing wrong. Case closed. Yeah, war criminals protect each other. This is why I told you when, Biden is going to get in, he's not going to do shit to Trump. Of course not. It's a big, it's one big club. Just horrendous stuff, honestly. Horrendous stuff. Now, speaking of the death cult, all right, this is something else. So, the CIA, they've just released a new ad, a new marketing video, a new promotional video. I'm going to play it to you, and then we'll discuss. Take a look.
When I was 17, I quoted Zora Neale Hurston's How It Feels to Be Colored Me in my college application essay. The line that spoke to me stated simply, I am not tragically colored. There is no sorrow dammed up in my soul nor lurking behind my eyes. I do not mind at all. At 17, I had no idea what life would bring, but Zora's sentiment articulated so beautifully how I felt as a daughter of immigrants then and now. Nothing about me was or is tragic. I am perfectly made. I can wax eloquent on complex legal issues in English while also belting Guayaquil de mis amores in Spanish. I can change a diaper with one hand and console a crying toddler with the other. I am a woman of color. I am a mom. I am a cisgender millennial who's been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. I am intersectional, but my existence is not a box-checking exercise. I am a walking declaration. A woman whose inflection does not rise at the end of her sentences, suggesting that a question has been asked. I did not sneak into CIA. My employment was not and is not the result of a fluke or slip through the cracks. I earned my way in, and I earned my way up the ranks of this organization. I am educated, qualified, and competent, and sometimes I struggle. I struggle feeling like I could do more, be more to my two sons, and I struggle leaving the office when I feel there's so much more to do. I used to struggle with imposter syndrome, but at 36, I refuse to internalize misguided patriarchal ideas of what a woman can or should be. I am tired of feeling like I'm supposed to apologize for the space I occupy rather than intoxicate people with my effort, my brilliance. I am proud of me, full stop. My parents left everything they knew and loved to expose me to opportunities they never had. Because of them, I stand here today a proud first-generation Latina and officer at CIA. I am unapologetically me. I want you to be unapologetically you, whoever you are. Know your worth. Command your space.
Wow, the bullshit goes deep. That's incredible. Really, how invigorating. What is that? By the way, do you notice like how she's saying that she's struggling as a mom to raise 2 sons, right? And hold on a second. You know how they're basically saying that you can have a great career. What about maternal leave? No. What about universal pre-K? No. Go and struggle raising your kids. And she says also that she's been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. No Medicare for all. No Medicare for all. No universal health care. But we wish you good luck. And it's great you speak Spanish because we're going to be using you to oppress your country of origin, the neighboring countries, the entire continent of Latin America, which the CIA has cooed God knows how many times. I can't even keep count. Some countries twice, thrice. I mean, yeah, this is really something. Yeah, this is really something. Wow. Woke imperialism, right? And something else that I wanted to show you also, which I saw on Twitter, again, equally as invigorating. Now this one, I believe, was posted by Travis Akers. He said, history was made on Friday with the first ever all-gay U.S. Navy helicopter crew. Wow. I mean, I think I've seen this before, right? You guys know what this reminds me of. That's Uncle Joe's Rainbow Coalition death cult. Life really imitates art, doesn't it? I told you, man. I told you they would come with this. I told you, right? Oh, look, we have the first black man leading the Pentagon, Lloyd Austin. Yeah, he used to work for Raytheon, which is a weapons manufacturer, and he has stocks in a company that murders people, and it's a conflict of interest. But hey, he's the first black man to lead the Pentagon. Avril Haines, yeah, she used to drone people and shit, but man, she's the first national director of intelligence. All right? Or Janet Yellen. So, yeah, we're sanctioning people and killing millions and displacing them and making them suffer and cutting off their, access to basic goods. There's no food coming in. They can't use foreign currency. The banks, the oil sector, it's all cut off. But a woman is doing it. A woman is applying the sanctions. What are you, a misogynist? This is really, I don't know whether to laugh or cry, because it's not satire anymore. This is the reality. This is not satire. It's just, I mean, dude, it's the Rainbow Coalition death cult that I was telling you about, right? So, by the way, if you want the t-shirt, the link is below. store.richardmedhurst.com. I can't help it, man. These liberals keep making me plug my merch. It's their fault. Go blame them. Because every time they do this, I bring it up. It's not my fault. But seriously, where's the difference, right? Between all these presidents. Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden. They just, they add different stickers on the plane, but the bombs are still dropping. The sanctions are still starving people. Oh, no, but it's okay. We have diversity now, right? It's woke imperialism. It's so I want to say something here, because I find it so hilarious how the CIA know this is bullshit, right? They know that this is no deferment in policy. There's no change there. They don't care. They're actually using that to their benefit to kind of rebrand themselves, right? They have a Twitter account. and they post crap like this, and they try to market themselves as being, woke and a progressive because they have a diverse workforce of imperialists and murderers and assassins. But they're still doing the same things. But you should be happy because diversity, right? Yeah, that's what matters. All that's left now is they put a Syrian in charge of the treasury and OFAC, so a Syrian can start putting sanctions. A Syrian woman, because now Janet Yellen's a white woman. We need a we need a woman from the global south. Oh my god, they never quit, dude. I believe there was an article by Glenn. He wrote this a couple of years ago. I think it might have been in the Intercept. I'm not sure. It was basically when GCHQ is Britain's equivalent of the NSA. On the coast, they have this huge spaceship looking facility. It looks like something from Star Trek, from the future, and they lit it up with pride colors, right? How cute, right? So the people spying on you and assassinating people around the world and carrying out acts of terrorism, it's okay. They're diverse now. And I think they even they said Turing's, right, in that tweet. And it's a very interesting point because Alan Turing, invented the modern computer. He was a cryptologist. He's a brilliant mathematician. He was a code breaker. He helped break, the Polish and the British, they broke Enigma, which is the German machine that they used to encrypt their messages, okay? And Turing at Bletchley Park, he helps break it. But because he's gay, you know what the British government did to him after the war? They chemically castrated him for the crime of being gay. Like, this guy helped win the war, almost single-handedly, you could say, right? If you're going to use that phrase. They chemically castrated him for being gay after winning World War II for them. And now they completely whitewash that and pretend, look, we celebrate diversity. Really? Where was that in the 1940s with Alan Turing? They made that man suicidal. They ruined his life after he won them World War II. Disgusting. Disgraceful. And they have no shame even using his name, right? And on top of it, of course, pretending diversity. It's not diversity, man. The most heinous part about all of this is that they're actually using these people from whichever minority they pick, whether it's Hispanics, Arabs, Africans, it doesn't matter. Or LGBT, they actually use them to go and oppress the same demographics abroad. Like, yeah, you speak Spanish, that the CIA love you because, they're going to be using you to carry out, foreign policy that actually hurts Latin American countries, Central American countries. So you're not celebrating diversity. You're actually just being used as a token, number one, and also to legitimately hurt people of that demographic. That's what it's about. Like, if you told me, okay, the Pentagon has the first black man leading it now, and that this meant, oh great, this guy is not going to be bombing Africa, I would be the first to say hooray. But the problem is they don't mean it like that. What they mean is like, look, here's a mask, here's some decorum, here's a little decoration, and some quote unquote diversity, but the policy is not diverse. It's the same thing, right? They're going to actually keep on hurting other blacks, other Africans. They have the biggest drone base in Niger, the Americans. They have bases in 50 countries, right? So, I mean, perhaps the right way to phrase it is they're involved militarily in 50 African countries, right? They got occupation in Djibouti, Somalia, all over the place, right? They're running covert ops. Does that change anything? We were talking about the DHS earlier. Alejandro Mayorkas. This guy's the first, Latin man to lead the DHS. Yeah, but look at what they're doing to other, Latinos and Hispanics at the border. Look at how they're treating them. What's the point if the policy is the same? They love this. The CIA, they love this. GCHQ, they love this. These intelligence agencies, the government, they love this. They love weaponizing quote unquote diversity because it's a way to shut you up from criticizing policy, because then they can say, oh, why are you criticizing Hillary Clinton? You hate women? Why are you saying that about Lloyd Austin? You hate African Americans? Yeah, you know, that's their first line of defense. It's the same thing with the squad, right? Why are you criticizing them? Huh? They make it about their identity and not the policy, right? It's shift the focus away from the policy. Don't talk about the policy. Just decorum. No difference from Republicans. It's just decorum. I mean, this is... The fact they're using this now in ad campaigns is hilarious. And it's not the first time, right? So if you go and follow the CIA on Twitter, man, they're posting pictures of like, minorities, people of color, and just telling you like, yeah, come join us. You know, you have a bright future killing other people of color and spying on them and destroying their countries. Well done. It's a snake eating itself, man. I swear to God, this entire empire, it's a snake eating itself. So I'm going to read your comments now and your super chats, and I thank you very much for that. We got one over here from Mona. Mona says, Richie, we voted out fascism, so don't worry. Yeah. Remember when they said that? Oh, we're going to vote out fascism. By the way, want to violate some more constitutional rights? Let's go, DHS. Thank you, Mona. I really appreciate it. Mona also says, hold on, it's scrolling down. Give me a second. It says, love you, Richie. You're the motherfucking GOAT and the MVP. Keep up the fucking amazing work. And are you a tad blurry, like in comparison with your arm spinning logo? I think I am. I haven't used any sharpness or nothing. You know, I'm all no filter, baby. Language-wise and picture-wise. So thank you, Mona. You're the best. You are the GOAT. I really appreciate it so much. And look, the t-shirt we made, they're plugging it for us, man. I ain't even got to try, right? I ain't even got to try. Look, the Rainbow Coalition Death Cult. I don't even have to try. They plug it for me. I told you the prophecy would come true. We got another super chat over here from Ion. It says, give it to him, Pop. You know I will, always. Forever and always. Adro Diablo says, watching with 2-week-old bub in my lap at 5 a.m. Let's go. Who needs sleep? All right, I think I kept the cussing to a minimum, so we're good. And I appreciate that very much, and I appreciate you tuning in so late. Much love to you guys. I know you're watching from all over the world. Thank you so much. We got a couple of super chats over here on Venmo. So let me read these to you guys. This one's from Aiden. My man Aiden says, where is Rashida Tlaib on these illegal occupations? Is she a coward or is she in on it? Hashtag fraud squad, hashtag fascist Israel. So that's the thing with Ilhan Omar. I feel like she's been more consistent than anyone else after Biden took over. Like, she'll criticize Biden on everything. Now, some people might say, well, you know, that's not enough. You need to actually like hold them accountable with consequences. I agree. But she's the only one who's actually kept it straight, like kept it consistent, kept it straightforward. Rashida Tlaib, I don't know, man. I mean, I hear her speak about this sometimes. I think she's been talking about Sheikh Jarrah, this video, I mean, the segment we just did on East Jerusalem where they're expelling these Palestinian families. I think she's talked about it. But yeah, it's like, this is, you got to understand something, man. This is the thing with discourse in politics, right? And especially when it comes to their wokeness, right? They'll let you say things. You'll hear a few Democrats here and there say things like, oh, you know, we should condition aid to Israel, which in of itself causes controversy, right? Even Bernie Sanders, who is Jewish, was called an anti-Semite for saying that, right? And they do this because they want to make sure that you can never like expand the boundaries where you can criticize Israel, right? They're shutting that down from the get-go. And that's all you'll hear. The correct position should be all of aid should be cut off to Israel. All military aid from the U.S. should be cut off to Israel, right? That's it. The correct position should be a Palestinian state must be established. Reparations must be paid. Land must be given back to the millions of Palestinians expelled and in the Nakba and the Exodus. That's the correct position, but they will never say that. So, you know, they can't go that far. So they'll say some shit that they know is never going to gain any traction. You know, they'll get a little flack for it, but it's not career ending. say, yeah, well, maybe we should condition a little aid to Israel, and then they can appear woke, but they're not actually giving you the correct position, and they're not going to go further than that. And unfortunately, even with, some of these politicians being from, majority Muslim countries or even from Palestine, I can't remember who told me this. So I'm quoting someone who replied to me on Twitter, I think. He said, at the end of the day, they're still American politicians, right? Even if they're Palestinian or Somali, they're still American politicians. Unfortunately, yes, unfortunately. Now, I'm assuming that they would like to go further than that, but if you're in the Democratic Party, man, I mean, what do you expect? You can't say anything about Israel. Forget it. Even if you are Palestinian, you cannot say anything about Israel. You remember, by the way, just to further prove my first point, do you remember how they tried to smear Ilhan Omar? Do you remember how they tried to smear her specifically, and I think also Rashida Tlaib, when they criticized Israel? Immediately, anti-Semitic, that's how they do it. It's like we're going to hound you, even if you say the mildest thing, to make sure that no one else does that, right? We're going to make an example out of you. And that way we define the boundaries of criticism, meaning, it's non-existent. You cannot criticize Israel. It's quite disheartening, huh? I mean, maybe they can because they're politicians. Me, I really don't give a shit. I will criticize and more, and then some. So, I'll have my cousin back on soon. Ronnie will be here. Oh, we're going to get to work. We are going to get to work. So if you'll excuse me just a second so I can continue reading your super chats, which I greatly appreciate. We got one from Neil over here. It says, check out Paul J's videos on Jan 6 and the censorship of his channel after reporting on it. He calls it a failed coup inside of a failed coup. Weird stuff. Jay's a seasoned reporter, and the links are in there. I appreciate that very, very much. Thank you, Neil. Much appreciated. I will check it out. And let me just see over here. I think we got some stuff also from Douglas. Douglas, thank you for the super chat. Douglas says nothing. There's no note attached. It's okay. I appreciate it nonetheless. Thank you so much. And on YouTube, we got a couple. I'm going to go into YouTube settings because they've disappeared, and I'm going to look them up. By the way, tomorrow, we got Glenn Greenwald on the show, so 3 p.m. Brazil time, meaning, I know for me that's 8 p.m., but for you guys, I think it's 2 p.m. Eastern and 11 a.m. Pacific. Okay? So make sure you're here. And I'll have another guest coming on the week after. I'll let you know when I have the fixed date. But yeah, I was going to tell you that before I forget. So just going back to your kind comments. Over here, we have a nice super chat from Mad Wolf. Mad Wolf says, keep fighting the good fight, brother. Keep calling out and exposing all of these effers. They all belong in prison. YouTube censors, I know. Yes, they do. They definitely do. I cannot believe that I'm still seeing Tony Blair on my screen. Like this ghoul, this goddamn goblin, this hell demon, still on my screen in 2021. George Bush. These people, like, when they talk about cancel culture, like if there is anyone you should cancel on this earth, it's Tony Blair and George Bush, and yet people keep trying to rehabilitate them. It's astonishing. The bar was already quite low, and they just managed to go lower and lower. All of them, not just other politicians, the media, of course, right, who are one and the same. Samira says, can you please address the discourse in your comments regarding your platforming of the AFD neo-Nazi? Surely you don't agree with that sentiment. No, I do not agree with that sentiment that I platformed an AFD neo-Nazi, because I've never done such a thing. I spoke to Kevork, who is Armenian and Syrian Armenian, and we spoke about the Armenian genocide. We spoke about the war recently between Azerbaijan and Armenia, and we spoke about Syria. If you have any, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about that until people were complaining. So, you want to come here and say that I did that willingly. That's not true. Second of all, I don't know anything about that party. I only knew about it when people told me. And I think it's kind of like they're just looking for reasons to smear me because they don't like what I said about the squad, what I said about, Israel. We didn't talk about anything inside of Germany. We talked about the Armenian genocide because we were commemorating our ancestors being killed. We talked about the recent war because I didn't know anything about that. Kevork is a great source on that. He's been reporting, one of the only people actually talking about it in English at least. And, and about Syria, right? He's talking about his brother being kidnapped in Syria by terrorists. So, I mean, if you have any questions, you should address them to him. But nonetheless, I don't even understand what he did. He told me, I spoke to him afterwards, and he told me that he just did some photography work when there was a meeting with the Syrian ambassador, Bashar al-Jafari. So I don't really see first of all, I don't know what that has to do with what we were talking about. And I mean, saying that we're platforming a neo-Nazi, I mean, that's a bit of a stretch. That's a mental gymnastics leap of epic proportions. And, again, it's people, they're just waiting for anything to pounce on, to smear me with. I really don't see what's wrong with talking about the Armenian genocide to commemorate the Armenian genocide. Like, I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm not going to apologize for talking about my massacred ancestors. This is an absurdity. So if you have any questions, you should address them to Kevork, but I think he's addressed them a number of times. And, I looked into what the AFD is afterwards, and I definitely don't agree with any of that shit. That's not my cup of tea, to say the least. These fringe far-right groups that you find in Germany, that you find in France, in the UK, and even in the US, what the fuck does that have to do with this channel? We're talking about anti-imperialism here. We're talking about shit that goes against white supremacy. We're talking about fighting racism and colonialism. What the fuck does that have to do with this channel? It's got nothing to do with me or what we talk about here. So people want to make that connection. It's a dishonest one. It's bullshit. They're just trying to find something to make a fuss about. So, it's just like we were talking about with Kevork, with Jimmy, like, people saying that, oh, you're not Syrian. Like, all of this has nothing to do with my work. Right? They just want to find shit to lie about. They just make up stuff because it's character assassination. That's Zionism Lobby 101, right? What do? They go after your character, after you as the person, not the message, right? Go after the messenger, not the message. So, if there was anything offensive in the video, I invite you to find it, but there's nothing there because we were talking about, our ancestors. So it's really that simple. And if someone had been talking about, I don't know, the Holocaust, or had been talking about slavery, I don't think anyone would dare try to police them. And again, I really don't know what to tell you anymore because I never heard of that party until people brought it up. So there's nothing disingenuous on my part. I think it's from them. And if you have any questions, you should ask Kevork. So that's all I can say. I wanted to talk about the Armenian genocide, and we did. It's really that simple. So Rob Simmons says the U.S. used Tiger Swan to suppress protests in Standing Rock during the protests in 2016. They're ruthless mercenaries who treat people terribly. I'm actually not sure that I've heard of Tiger Swan. I'm not sure of that, but I already know just looking at the pictures and the videos and what happened at the time. Yeah, it was completely, abhorrent how they were treating the protesters, tear gassing them, pepper spraying them, the water cannons. Yeah, we all remember. And people want to come around and say like, oh, the police were only brutal under Trump. What? Do you remember Obama, Biden? And just giving one example here from Rob. So I've never heard of Tiger Swan, but I need to look into that. So thank you. Artemis A's sent a sticker, says, you are amazing. If I'm reading that correctly, you are amazing, Artemis. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We also got one over here from John that says noob. Well, that's not very nice. No, I appreciate it very much. Thank you, John. These stickers are pretty dope. I think we can get some like custom stickers in here, but I don't know how to do that yet. I've seen that on other channels. So if anyone has any idea, well, you let me know. We got a couple of more super chats here. This one is from Shadow Band Refugee. It says, fight terrorism, defund the Pentagon, break the dollar, end the empire. Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you. agree on all those points. Again, the Pentagon, they call themselves the Department of Defense, or the Israelis call themselves their military, Israeli Defense Forces. It's all offense. It's nothing to do with defense. Florence says, thank you for your work. Greetings from Zurich, Switzerland. Thank you so much. Much love to Switzerland, and I appreciate that very much, Florence. Thank you. We got another super chat over here from, hold on, it's loading. There we go. We got one from Sissy Max, says, free Mumia. You heard it here first, free Mumia. I need to, hold on, oh, yes, of course, you're talking about the journalist in Philadelphia, yeah. Yes, I know. We would talk, hold on. Weren't we talking about him last time on the show, last live stream? He's been in jail for like decades. Man, last week we were talking about it. Man, this is astonishing. They accused him of murdering a cop, I think, and, he went to jail in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. So he's been in there for like 40 years now, and this is in Philadelphia. And I need to look more into his case because people were sending me stuff last week, and I was only able to read briefly. But it's crazy, the human rights abuses, and then they have the nerve to talk about political prisoners in other countries and human rights. I mean, I can't take it seriously when you see stuff like this that they do at home. Connie, thank you for your super chat. Florin, thank you for your super chat. I'm very grateful. And we also got one over here from John on CashApp. Thank you so much. John says Obama and Hillary, so I'm assuming you mean Obama and Hillary, violated the Geneva Convention with Noriega too. Oh, well, of course. I mean, that's part of their daily routine, man. But, just going back to what I said before, this thing with Hillary Clinton, you already remember quite well, I think, that when she was running for president, any sort of valid criticism like you just brought up, I mean, it was off limits. Why? Because she's a woman, right? Yeah, but we're not criticizing her because she's a woman, we're criticizing her record. No, doesn't matter. What? That's not diversity. That's got nothing to do with it. They're trying to weaponize it against actual, critiques coming from the left, too, right? From the left. No, they don't care, man. They don't care. They never heard of the Geneva Convention. That doesn't exist for them. That doesn't even exist for them, man. I'm just refreshing over here. Give me a second. I'm refreshing everything. Yeah, so we got another tip over here on PayPal. Thank you very much to, I'll have your name in a second, to Batul Kifek says, hello, it's been a while. I've missed the live streams. Ahlan wa sahlan. It's good to have you on. And I love Batul's art. I think I've plugged your Instagram on the show before. And I was showing your artwork to my mom the other day, and she absolutely loves it, right? So if you look behind me, Batul drew me the resistor, the muqawim. Hold on, the image is mirrored, so I'm going to make sure I'm pointing to the right. There we go, right? So thank you so much for that. I really love it. It's a bit out of focus because of the lens, because of the bokeh, but it's a resistor from Palestine wearing the scarf and with his hand in the air. I love it so much. Thank you so much for that. And you guys should check out Batul's Instagram. Hold on, I'm gonna fetch it so I can spell the handle correctly. Great art, seriously. So the handle is at 8, the number 8, ALLOUT. Great stuff. And I'm seeing you posted more stuff over here. Beautiful. This kufia that you painted, the silok, I love that so much. Unbelievable. Wow. Thank you. Keep it up. Seriously. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. I'm glad you could join the live streams. I went earlier today, so that's good. So, all right, guys. I hope I didn't miss anybody. I think I got everything. Again, tomorrow Glenn Greenwald will be on the show, 3 p.m. Brazil time. So that is, I think, 2 p.m. New York, 2 p.m. Eastern, and 11 a.m. West, Pacific. So we'll see you then. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for all your nice comments, and that's it from me. Ma salame. Take care. Bye-bye, and thank you for supporting the show. Oh, and hold on, we got one more super chat. I'll read it. DC says prominent leftist musician and community activist David Rovix was doxxed yesterday in Portland, Oregon. They flyed his neighborhood calling him anti-Semitic. By who? Let me look into that. I'm gonna go check this out. So and again, of course, thank you for the super chat, but let me go check that out. Lay Lennox, I appreciate your sticker too. You guys are very, very gracious. You guys are very humbling, and I'm very grateful. So thank you so much for that. And yeah, I forgot to plug the show before I left, but here you go. I'm just going to pull this up on the screen. So again, I'm very grateful. Thank you so much. And please sign up on Rockfin. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. rokfin.com/RichardMedhurst. It's like YouTube, but better. And there's the newsletter as well, the Substack. Everything is in the chat. Everything is in the comments. And I really, really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. This computer is gonna drive me up the fucking walls, man. All right. Peace out.